Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are in the world. My name is Jessica, and it is time for Read the Beats, episode 3. Alright, so welcome to Read the Beats, episode 3. Today we are featuring the beautiful Shantal from the Spooky Library. Before we get into it, make sure you go to Shantal's channel and subscribe, hit the notifications, do all of that great stuff. And let's get into it. I'm very excited. Today I am hoping for some songs that will take me by surprise or just kind of make me think, but I'm also hoping for some books that will lend into spooky season, which is starting to come through for a lot of people. So yeah, I'm very excited. Let's have a look.
You did pick a good person because I do listen to music, on a daily basis. I am a little iffy because my music taste is not like others. Um, I do listen to like a lot of rock or alternative, or my main genre that I listen to is metalcore. So please be prepared for absolute chaos. I myself found this fairly easy to come up with 3 favorite songs.
Cool.
Because these 3 songs I listen to on repeat daily, but I am very nervous for your reaction and your input on these songs.
I mean, metal is not my typical genre. The most metal I go is like Disturbed. So this should be interesting. I'm already getting feelings like it's going to give me a bit of a challenge. But yeah, it'll be really interesting. I'm really excited.
So I'm gonna jump right into it and not ramble on anymore. Okay. So the first song that I have, I will go a little easy on you. So
Okay.
The first song that I have for you is the Ballad of Spook and Murky by Creepers. They're more of like a kind of soft rock, goth rock kind of group.
Okay.
They have like an 80s kind of gothic rock vibe to them.
We like
I
80s.
just recently saw these guys in concert in May, and I fell in love with them ever since. So ever since that concert back in May, I've been listening to this song specifically on repeat to kind of ease you into, a little heavier stuff that I listen to. I'm going to give you Bleeders by Black Veil Brides. This song is like a spin on Tony Todd. It's got like a nice soft rock kind of ink.
The whole like mention of Sweeney Todd there, that should be very interesting. This is leaning very much into the spooky like season type vibe, which is what I was hoping for. But the mention of Sweeney Todd like makes me think of like a musical or an opera or something that's like really dramatic, and so it'll be interesting to find a book based on that drama.
And then it kind of gets a little heavier, like further into the song. But I love this group. This group headlined that concert in May that I was telling you about. I listened to this group for years now. They are one of my all-time favorites. Now, getting into the heavier side of my music taste, they are not the heaviest that I listen to, but they're like this song specifically, there's a pretty heavy sound to it. But that is Halloween Town by Dark Divine. This group also.
The name of that automatically makes me think of like, oh, not Coraline. Is it The Corpse Bride? This is Halloween. This is Halloween. That's the most singing you're ever going to get out of me. Again, very like a flair for the dramatic. I haven't listened to the songs yet, but yeah, I'm feeling some pretty like drama filled books. Maybe the first author that is coming to my head is actually Neil Gaiman. There's drama going on with him at the moment, but like he wrote Coraline, he wrote some of that stuff that was made into like movies that Tim Burton did, and like I get like Tim Burton is kind of the vibe that I'm getting as well. I could be totally wrong, but
these songs since then. They're called like spooky metal core or spooky metal or whatever, but like they're real like Halloween themed kind of group. So
there's
I'm not
the
gonna
spooky.
push you anymore with my type of music because I could have gone way heavier, but to save your ears and to save your sanity,
Thank you.
I'm just going to go with three songs. I don't know what you're going to think about them, honestly. I do hope that you enjoy them. But thank you again for choosing me to be a part of this collaboration with you. And I'm so excited to see what you have coming my way and what you come up with book-wise for these songs. So to give you a final rundown of the three songs that I have picked for you, they are the Ballad of Spook and Mercy by Creeper, Bleeders by Black Veil Bride, and Halloween Town by Dark Divine. I will list these songs in the description below so you have access to them. But yeah, that's all I have. I can't wait to see what you come up with. But thanks again. I will see you soon.
So as you can see, we have changed location. We are now in my living room. I have finished the reads. Now, I didn't tell you what I was going to be doing. I kind of just went straight into it and forgot to update you. So I'm literally just going to be doing a sit-down review of these three books. For song number one, we had Ballad of Spooks and Mercy by Creeper, and I loved that song. That was like my vibe. It was like 80s old school rock that just hit the right spot. And for the book, I chose The Changeling by Victor LaValle. Now, this was a very interesting one. At first, I thought of something that was like written in the 80s or 90s because the music just kind of gave that vibe. But then the song itself, Neo. Hang on, we have a visitor. Come here, puppy. Like I said, the song itself to me kind of tells essentially of a story of a woman that to me is being transformed into a vampire. Like there's a lot of like death and like will you be able to sleep when you're dead and there's a lot of like talking of a lady or a woman coming to like murder somebody through the night. Hi. Is it a bit bright for you? Is it a bit bright for you? I'm sorry. So really, in hindsight, a Dowry of Blood would have been perfect for this. And it is actually the very first book that I thought of, but because I read it for Read the Beats featuring Jonah, I obviously couldn't read it for this one. If you haven't watched that episode, do go and check it out. And so for this one, I really had to think outside the box. Now, as I said, you're going to have to go with me here, okay, because this is a bit of a stretch. And this is where like read the beats and like following the vibes and just following the clues that you get can lead to some really interesting things. So as I said, the song was really about transformation. And I leaned into that and I thought, okay, so transform equals change, changeling while a changeling isn't a transformation as such, um, it is a creature different than the baby that was there before, if you know any of the lore surrounding changelings. So I really enjoyed this book. As you can imagine, it leans into the story of a changeling. Um, so a changeling is essentially a supernatural child that is swapped out with a human baby, and so the changeling ends up growing up in the human realm, and the human baby ends up growing up in the whatever different realm it went to. This is absolutely a dark fairy tale retelling, reimagining. It follows Apollo from a baby right up until he is an adult, and as like a young child, he loses his father. He has nightmares and all of this stuff. Uh, and like he eventually grows out of them and he gets a girlfriend and he starts his own family. He and Emma, who is his girlfriend, uh, when they start this family, they go through what every parent goes through, months and months and months of exhaustion, until one day Emma finally snaps, and what we see is her doing the absolutely unthinkable. And so in a way, Emma herself is transforming into something dark. Uh, and so that, ow, hi. And so that leads, like, again to that whole transformation thing. Um, and the song is about a woman anyway. So this leads to a very dark and painful quest for Apollo into the unknown as he fights both to save his wife and, spoiler alert, his son. So I've talked on this channel before about Chekhov's gun, and its use in literature, and this fella is the king of the Chekhov's gun. You've really got to read carefully. Uh, this book is absolutely full of them, and everything that is introduced is used. Arguably, besides like one point. Um, so I gave this a 4.5 stars. It was really good, and the song was really good as well. So next we had Bleeders by Black Veil Brides, and that was very much an ode to Sweeney Todd. And I loved the song. Again, it kind of took me to like the 90s / early 2000s kind of punk rock. Well, not really punk rock, but like it's very ballady at the start, and then it gets a little bit heavier. Uh, I absolutely loved it. Both the two songs that I've mentioned ended up going on my favourites list. And so thinking of a book for this, I was like a flair for the dramatic. Um, and then I thought I would just have a look on Google and just see if there were any like retellings of Sweeney Todd even. And so then I found the book The String of Pearls. Now, originally, The String of Pearls was a penny dreadful serialized from 1846 to 1847, and it is the original tale of Sweeney Todd. The first book that actually came to my mind was actually The Butcher by Philip Carlo. It's essentially about a true story of a guy that worked for the mafia, and he essentially cut up the bodies for the mafia, and helped bury them. Gross. Yeah, I didn't have to read that. I obviously chose The String of Pearls. And this book in itself is very much a classic. It reads like a classic. It had the structure and the language of a classic, especially when it came to, in my opinion, unnecessary monologues. Unnecessary monologues and like random characters that really didn't need to be there. But the story itself was actually pretty good. The mystery of it, because it had been a while since I've seen the movie, I couldn't like really connect all the dots straight away. And so the mystery of it kept me engaged for pretty much the whole book. The very end of the book was incredibly well hidden. I didn't actually, well, I had an inkling about what happened at the end of the book, but it wasn't a strong feeling. So it gets points for that, for me not like really pinpointing that straight away. But in saying that, when it did finally happen, and I remembered, and I was right, I was like, I was so happy. That's one of the best like moments of me being able to guess an ending that I've ever had. While there were similarities between the book and the movies, there were absolutely some major differences. And they weren't necessarily bad differences, they were just differences. And things like the judge from the movie, Alan Rickman, having Joanna locked away in his townhouse. In the book, she still lived with her parents. There was a major plot point with the string of pearls, which essentially was how Todd and Mrs. Lovett planned to retire together. And there were some other major differences as well that I don't really want to spoil. But my point is that both the book and the movie had their merits. So I quite enjoyed myself reading this one. I would recommend people pick it up, despite the long monologues, but I think that's just me. So I gave this a 3.75. It's definitely not a bad book. I would recommend it. So finally, for song 3, we had Halloween Town by Dark Divine. And this was the hardest book for me to choose from. The song itself was a bit more metal than what I normally listen to. Like the very start of it was quite hard for me to understand what he was saying. But then it got to like the chorus, and it was like the more I listened to it, the more I got sucked in, and it was like he was almost inviting me to like this creepy kind of carnival thing, like come to the circus type, Halloween Town, welcome to the party type thing. And so the set itself was a performance. Like you had purples and you had greens, a lot of colors that I would just associate with like either a creepy haunted house or a creepy circus type thing. So I immediately thought of the fair from Haunting Adeline. If you haven't read that, there is a fair. There is a Halloween fair in Haunted Adeline, and specifically like the haunted house in that. So I thought, okay, what about Hunting Adeline? Well, the singer himself had a scar and like one white eye, and I'm like, well, that's Zaid. That's the male protagonist, quote, maybe. But I really did not feel like reading a creepy, dark romance. No. So I was like, okay, again, you're going to have to go with me here. I was like, fair, circus, night circus. No, I've already read that. Is there a creepy circus book? So I went on Google, and yes, there was. The book that I chose for this was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. And without spoiling too much, there is a carnival, and essentially this carnival comes in the dead of night, and there are these kids that end up exploring where they shouldn't be, and horror eventually ensues. People go missing. There's this really creepy witch, this ink man, this really weird merry-go-round that actually like goes backwards instead of forwards. And yeah, so these kids end up getting in a whole lot of trouble with these circus people, and it takes a while for the adults to come around. But eventually they do, and they find out who these people are, essentially find out the secret of the carnival. And that secret was actually really interesting. I didn't know what to expect going into this book. And so because of that, it was really creepy. And because I was listening to it on audio while I was in bed, because I was also reading it for another prompt for SCAREathon. Yeah, it was just like it was really creepy. Like especially if you're in the dark and you've got some of those scenes with the witch. She was creepy. People need to take a page out of Ray Bradbury's book if they want to make a mean, nasty horrible, but yeah, it was a story that I just sat back and I literally let it take me for the ride that it wanted to take me on, which very much was the vibe of the song for me, was let me take you on a ride, and almost like let me entertain you. So yeah, this book got a 4-star from me, and it is one that I would actually really love on my shelf. So that is it for Read the Beats episode 3. Thank you again to Shantal for trusting me with your songs. I really appreciate it. Which of these books would you want to pick up next, or which books would you have chosen for any of those songs? Because I would really love to know how other people are interpreting these songs as well. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a like and give me a subscribe while you are there. I'm trying to get to 225 subscribers by the end of October. So it would be great. If you do want to comment but you're not feeling chatty, then leave a baby emoji. Then leave a baby emoji for baby Brian, hashtag the changeling. Until next time, bye.